This podcast is part of E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience. David Housel described it best. We are living the whole of the Auburn experience. You can quantify it, you can qualify it through a variety of different ways, times, people, places, and even experiences. But at its heart and at its core, it is all about the Auburn sports, the Auburn culture, and the Auburn family. Because it's about family, we got to have some of those members in here to discuss it. I am your host, Kyle. Alongside me in chair number 2, as always, Mr. Scott, here to discuss that experience for episode 69. Sir, welcome back.
Thank you. Hope you've had a great week, sir. It's good to be back. We are in March officially, and I'm excited. Well, I guess we've been in March since we've done an episode of this, but we're in a full week in March. So I'm looking forward to the rest of this month, the sports that it brings, the moments that it brings, the one shining moments it brings, and I can't wait for us to get into it.
I may or may not have to be fighting the urge to start singing and humming One Shining Moment. There you go. Don't get me started. My wife is going to be hearing that nonstop. I'm surprised she's not already like yelling across the hall at me. Even though I'm in the office, she probably heard me saying, no, don't start singing that again. It's going to happen. I love this time of year. It's the only part of like winter / the entry into spring that I actually like. And so it's like this humongous high for me. And then it goes down to
wait a minute. You mean like the seasons?
Seasons.
Okay, you do not like us going into spring.
I hate spring with a passion. Like
really?
With an absolute passion.
You like winter better.
I like winter because basketball is prevalent. It's there. That's all we got. Like after the holidays, that's the only thing that's keeping me from going into the doldrums of the freezing cold temperatures and stuff.
Okay.
And when we don't get snow, when they tell me they're going to get snow, and it makes no sense that my one spot where everybody else is getting snow and I don't get snow, that makes me upset. So when I have basketball, that keeps me sane. But when basketball is done after March Madness, especially after the high of that March Madness, then I get very upset with pollen and temperatures that can't decide what they want. So yes, I don't like spring.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, I'm sorry to start the show like that with everybody.
I'm gonna give you my
congratulations. I did not know that it was this was a tumultuous time of year for you.
It's always a tumultuous time of year for me.
Okay.
Anyway, we're gonna focus on the good things for now. That is a lot of March Madness. We got a lot to talk about. Auburn potpourri. I feel like we always say that, but that's why we do the show, because there's plenty of things to discuss.
That's right.
Spring break, as much as I don't like spring, spring break just happened on campus for, does the public schools in Auburn out as well? Are they out as well this week?
Yes. Auburn City schools and my employer, private school in the area, all usually try and time it up together.
Yeah, I figured. I remember them doing that when I was there in school eons ago. But I couldn't remember if they still did that. The reason we bring that up, you're like, why are you talking about this, Kyle? But I always like to get Austin as a resident's perspective. Was it dead again?
Yeah. We were gone actually utilizing our spring break for about half the week, but early in the weekend, last weekend even, it gets pretty dead. People clear out pretty quickly, going all their different ways. But even today at church, you could tell people were back in town.
Right.
Baseball game, I think people were out there in droves. So spring break is come and gone.
I will commend the students for staying for that Saturday game to start their spring break and then coming back, a lot of them early. And I know that there was probably some that didn't go too far away. It wasn't that big of a draw, but look, it's spring break. Everybody gets excited about it.
Right.
So I just want to give credit where credit is due, the student body, for staying and showing back up early. Those that chose to especially for senior day, which was a very important day for all of us. It's almost like I've done this for a while and teed it right up. Let's talk about the seniors for just a second. Okay. I think we could spend a whole segment on this, but in lieu of that and so many other things to discuss today, I do want to talk a little bit very briefly about these guys that for the men's basketball team, especially. And this is not taking away in any way from other seniors, from other sports that we could talk about Honesty Scott Grayson and so many others on other different programs. But we want to talk about these guys because this has been a really special group that's really seen the highs and I won't say lows, but just, has really found themselves placed in one of the most important times for Auburn basketball. We're talking about, and you tell me if I'm forgetting someone, Leo Berman, Jalen Williams. Janai, we're going to throw in there as well, even though he's not a senior, because let's be honest, he's gone, right? I mean, you agree with that statement?
Is he not an official senior?
My understanding is he's listed as a junior, but I think he was honored as a senior. I could be wrong.
I totally missed that. I just went with the flow.
I could be wrong. I know officially Jalen and Lee are the only ones that can't come back.
Right. They Chris used their COVID year, correct?
Yes. Tady Johnson, Chris Moore, and help me, I am forgetting one person. I know I am.
Carter Sabera.
I was thinking of
Jalen Harper.
Jalen Harper.
Anyway, boy.
I know. I forgot Chris Moore last night, and now I'm panicking because I forgot the other one. Dylan Cardwell.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Take the podcast from us right now. How do we forget about Dylan Cardwell? But just real quick thoughts about these guys and how special they are to the program.
Yeah, guys, like you said, that have been around and seen a whole lot of Auburn basketball or have contributed in big ways to Auburn basketball. All these guys saw the first number one rank. Well, I guess Janai did not see the first number one ranking as a member of the team. But, Bruce Pearl likes to talk about making history, and a lot of these guys have made history at Auburn by their contributions on the court and by their accolades off the court and all sorts of things. Just huge contributors to Auburn basketball. We didn't see Jalen and Leor honored because they were honored last year for Senior Day. And so I guess that's a whole other topic is, there's COVID seniors and seniors. I think this is the last year we're going to have to deal with it, as in going into like Dylan Cardwell can use his COVID year, but he's the last class that can do so. Praise the Lord. But all these guys deserve a lot of gratitude and praise. And like we talked about Carter Sobera and Jalen Harper, and I think there were probably a few managers honored yesterday as well. All those guys are massive contributors to Auburn basketball in the program and played large roles. So congratulations to them. Every year when it's basketball Senior Day, I like to read. Our buddy Clint usually posts it out. There was a time, and right or wrong, there was a time when Auburn basketball Senior Day was it was a really empty and quiet gym. And now it is not that, and that is in large part because of these guys and guys before them who have built this program to be what it is. So props to them. We thank them, and we can't wait for them to be some celebrity ends in the future.
Yes, and if you want to just get the feels going, make sure you go watch the videos they posted of them saying thank you. And let me just tell you, if you ain't ready, don't watch the end of the Dylan Cardwell one, because
don't
do it to yourself if you ain't ready to handle some emotional stuff there. So, but thank you to the guys, the seniors, whether they were legit, fifth year, whatever. We thank you guys so much for your contributions to the team, the program, and to the Auburn family. I do want to mention the women's basketball tournament for SEC, which is now officially wrapped up. And I believe South Carolina won that one. Is that correct? They did. The Auburn Tigers were in it. They got the first round bye and also got a first win. First one since 2020, I believe, beating the Arkansas Razorbacks in a bit of a revenge bid. And then they ran into the buzzsaw that is the LSU women's team with Angel Reese, and that will say feistiness.
Yes,
comes along with that. Not the way we wanted it to end. Not a surprise, seeing they had to face LSU again, but still very proud of them.
Absolutely. Probably the most likely outcome and what you hoped Auburn would do as far as just get one win, kind of absolutely deadbolt lock yourself into the NCAA tournament.
Mm-hmm.
They've done that. So now they'll wait to see where they're going to be selected and where they go. And but really continue to be impressed with this group. Continue to be impressed with Johnny Harris and her coaching staff and her leadership. This team is on the correct trajectory, and they just keep proving that. So I'm excited.
Definitely are. I want to do a quick review of the Diamond Sports. Softball began SEC play with Missouri. They were able to salvage a game against the highly ranked Missouri team today on the road, but they only get that one in the series. What a series for Auburn baseball with Austin Peay. And by the way, I just need to go ahead and apologize again. For whatever reason, I've been calling them Austin Peavy for years. And someone got a hold of me and said, Kyle, you sound like an idiot, which is, you watch this show every week and you know that anyway. I don't know why that's a surprise to some of y'all, but it's Austin Peay, which is weird. Pretty good baseball team and quite
Very
a series. Auburn does end up winning it, but a very scary situation with that second game and kind of made you worried about game 3. What I want to
right.
mention out of this and maybe get some perspectives on you, Joseph Gonzalez pulled from the starting lineup again. If you listen to coach's press conference, he didn't say that it was, he even kind of said, we're not really worried about injuries or if he's not healthy. This was more of kind of a reset situation. He clearly wasn't trending the direction we wanted him to go, maybe some mechanics, timing things down. And kind of made us all a little bit worried, I think, when we see Joseph do a couple games and then not start. Any thoughts about what you didn't see out of Joseph, but him getting pulled just for at least this weekend?
Yeah, well, I think, like you said, there's always some PTSD about when you see a guy like that who's had the career that he has in terms of injury. But yeah, I think you can trust Coach Butch Thompson when he talks about the reset. They know they've been with this guy for a long time. He knows his body. They know his body and what makes it tick and how things should look. And for whatever reason, it wasn't looking the right mechanics the right way at the time. And so better for them to, SEC play is coming next weekend, and so it's better for them to get things right, get things to where everybody feels comfortable. And I'm not too worried about an injury repeat or anything like that. But something to watch. But if Joseph Gonzalez is back on the mound for the Tigers, that's always a good thing.
Always a good thing, and love seeing him out there. So hopefully we'll see him back out there, maybe even this weekend, back in the rotation. To round out our potpourri, just want to mention, if you are unaware, basically, and I don't think I'm missing anybody, all the winter sports are now finished with their regular seasons, and some are almost well into their postseason plays, if not done already. Swimming, diving, equestrian, indoor track and field, men's and women's basketball, and gymnastics. I think that is everybody done with their regular seasons and in postseason play at the very least. That'll do it for potpourri. We're now going to move into our main topics. We're going to be talking about a little bit of an SEC tournament pick'em for men's basketball and looking at a conversation around conference realignment, at least a fantasy portion of it and somebody's idea of that, all coming up next. But first, I want to talk to you about our friends at Magic Mind. And of course, you've been hearing me talking about them a lot lately, and for good reason. We really love these guys, and we're thankful that they continue to support the show. If you haven't found a good option for you in terms of an energy drink or something that gives you a pick-me-up in the morning or whenever you need it, a lot of options out there that you can use. Not a lot of them, though, are good for you. They kind of have some bad connotation in terms of your health. No names in specific there, but what I can tell you is that Magic Mind is the healthier alternative for you in that category. Tried it myself, and I can tell you, listen, I'm not a person who loves green things, and when you see the bottle, it does look green on there. But once I took the sample of it, I was like, my goodness, this actually tastes sweet. It actually tastes really good. And so don't let that deter you in any way. What I can tell you, though, is this: it's much better for you than some of those other alternatives out there. So if you're interested in trying out Magic Mind, please do visit them by using the link magicmind.com/Auburn. You can then use our code Auburn, AUBURN, for a 56% off of a subscription, 20% off a one-time purchase. Again, if you want to visit them, do so at magicmind.com/Auburn. Use the code Auburn for that 56% off or 20% off that one-time purchase. We are going to talk about brackets, not March Madness brackets. Technically, you could throw this into that category, but we're talking about the SEC tournament brackets. It is here, Austin. Are you pumped? Are you excited?
Well, not quite. That's not really one yet.
Wait, one more time. How did that go?
Can I say one thing that I'm really excited about March Madness for that really only Auburn people get to truly be excited about?
Oh, yeah, I know what you're going to say. Go ahead.
What am I going to say?
Charles Barkley.
Charles Barkley.
Charles Barkley.
Right. I mean, everybody loves Charles. Let's be honest, whether you like it or whether you want to admit it or not. But Charles is ours, and ever since Auburn's been back in the picture,
love him or hate him.
He's love him or hate him. Ever since Auburn's been back in the picture, it's just like an added bonus to March Madness for us. So yes, I can't wait for it. But he's after the SEC tournament.
Yeah, we're gonna have plenty of times talking about what we just saw or heard Charles say for March Madness coverage coming up here very shortly. Let's talk about the SEC tournament and what maybe kind of a little pick 'em. I think that would be fun to do. Your Auburn Tigers obviously are in the tournament. Everybody is, no matter how bad you are. Missouri.
Oh, goodness gracious.
You just feel bad for them at times. Auburn's been bad, but I don't think they've ever been, at least in recent history, that bad. And here's the thing, Missouri, when we played them, you can tell they have talent.
They're close.
They just don't play well together as a team.
Well, and not to make this a Missouri segment, but
it is about Tigers.
There you go. No, but they're running into a league that the floor of the league is the best it's been in forever.
Right.
Like it's been so long since the rest of the league elevated it, and unfortunately they're the second team since 1945 to go 0-18 in conference play.
Yeah. So man, it's tough road, and it's a tough scene for them right now. I'm going to bring it up on the screen for those watching live. Again, if you're on the audio portion of the podcast, you'll just have to imagine it, or you can pull it up on your phone or whatever, however you want to, just to play along with the show. But we'll kind of bring this up and down as needed, just so that you can at least take an early, quick look at that. You'll see your Auburn Tigers. They are listed on there in a double bye situation as the number 4 team. A lot of craziness happened in the last week that situated that. Auburn was vying for the number 2 spot, but I don't know. Maybe we actually got out of this a little bit
I think so.
We'll see how everything plays out. What we learned all season is that the SEC is just ridiculously talented and tough to win in. But right now, your Auburn Tigers double bye. They would play either Vanderbilt, Arkansas, or South Carolina, whoever makes it out of those first 2 days. Eventually, maybe a rematch with Tennessee and either an Alabama, Kentucky, most likely in your finals situation if we make it that far. So we got to do this kind of rapid fire, Austin. Yeah, and I know it's going to be tough to do, but what I would love to do is do a little bit of a pick 'em for us today. Okay. And let's just start with probably the easiest pickings there, Missouri or Georgia.
Oh, Missouri, obviously. No. I'm going to pick Georgia. That they were close to being out of the bottom 4, but didn't quite make it. I think they've got some pieces they'll be able to send Missouri home early, and probably what Missouri wants to, if we're being honest.
And put them out of their misery. Really.
There you go.
See, I've been using that joke way too much lately.
I've noticed. It's okay.
Oh, you've noticed that I've been using that too much?
It's popped up on the Twitter a few many times.
Oh man, I can't escape it anymore. It's just I'm everywhere, and I wish I kind of wasn't at times. All right, your other round 1 game.
What do you got? You got Georgia?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, I thought it was a foregone.
I'm just making sure.
It's Georgia.
It's
Vanderbilt, Arkansas. This one's maybe not as cut and dry as it may look if you just look at the names alone and what we would typically associate with each program of recency. What do you think?
I pick Arkansas. I think you're right. I think it'll be a closer game. But I think Arkansas has come on here a little bit better in the last few weeks. It's still, rough start is still weighing them in the bottom 4 and playing the first game of the tournament. But I've got Arkansas and the Pigs taking down Vanderbilt.
I have never been more disappointed with the program than I have with Arkansas this season.
Yeah, no kidding.
With all that talent, and boy, do they just do not play well together as a team. For that reason, I'm calling the first upset of the tournament. I'm saying Vanderbilt takes down the Arkansas Razorbacks and continues to embarrass them this year. Now, I'm not going to have them go very far, so don't worry about it if I'm wrong on this.
So you like Vanderbilt's arena now?
No, that's not.
That's what I just heard.
They're actually playing in Nashville in an arena that's built to have a basketball game in.
Kyle likes Memorial Gymnasium now.
Not some monstrosity that does not deserve to exist on this earth.
Kyle's a fan of the Memorial Gymnasium now.
Stop telling lies. Wrong. Fake news. Fake news. So Vanderbilt
split.
Vanderbilt, Arkansas. It's not going to really matter all that much.
Probably not.
But let's look at first one for day 2, Mississippi State, LSU. Don't really know where to go here. What do you think?
Yeah, this is an even one. I think really this one came down to the last game of the night last night. Even if LSU had lost, these two would have split. So they were destined to meet each other. I've got LSU. I think LSU is going to take down the Cowbells.
I'm going to disagree with you again.
Boy.
I've been fairly encouraged by Mississippi State throughout the year.
They can shoot it.
They can. And Tolu Smith, I think, is a pretty good big man, too. I got a feeling that they're going to win. But this is not the biggest upset. It's the 8-9 seed.
Correct.
I mean, when this happens in March Madness, you're kind of like, hey,
It's a coin
it's not.
flip.
It's a
Yep.
coin flip. So to me, that's what the situation is too. Again, probably not going to matter at the end of this thing. Of course, I say that, and it's going to get crazy. Next game, we have differing teams here, but they'll be taking on South Carolina. I'll go first this time. South Carolina is going to win this one. I think they surprised everybody this year. I think they're going to continue to surprise people, setting up a rematch with Auburn. Do you disagree in any way?
I do not. I think that South Carolina takes it. They were right there for a top 4 seed, didn't get it mainly because of that beatdown Auburn gave them. But I think South Carolina is an easy pick to go to Friday.
Yes, and that's why I said it didn't really matter that I called the upset for Vanderbilt. Ole Miss versus Texas A&M. Another one that is going to be interesting because Ole Miss was a team that looked poised to be one of the more dominant teams in the SEC and still good, but maybe fell off a little bit. Texas A&M is confounding because they'll look good, then they won't. Buzz Williams is their coach, which already kind of takes them up a notch for me.
Right.
What say you, Ole Miss, Texas A&M?
Yeah, this is one of those weird ones where Ole Miss and A&M played yesterday, and now they're going to turn around and play again on Thursday.
That's
and
weird,
so
isn't it?
it's very weird. That happened with Auburn and Missouri, I
I
think,
was
a
going to
couple years ago.
say, you remembered it.
But A&M blitzed Ole Miss in Oxford yesterday.
Yeah.
And I think that even though it's a quick turnaround and you've seen everything they've got, I don't really see Ole Miss turning around that much. And I think A&M will be moving on.
Buzz Williams is one of those coaches that gets a lot out of their team, especially
Yes.
when it matters most. So I'm going to say Texas A&M as well, setting up the game with Kentucky. But first, let's look at that final game for the second round. We both have the Georgia Bulldogs meeting the Florida Gators. I'm sure they're going to call it some type of weird cocktail party thing.
Ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. Florida or Georgia? What say you?
I have the Gators. I think that Florida's a better team. I truthfully have no idea how they played each other in the regular season.
Yeah.
But I think Florida they've got the makings to make a strong run in this tournament and the big one. And they also have the makings to go, one and done. So I don't know how which team will get, but I'm going to hedge my bet and go with Florida.
Yeah, I think after this round, things are going to get really interesting. Potentially. I mean, it still could go chalk by the end of it, but I think Florida's one of those teams that could be not a fly in the ointment. That's not a fair comparison because they're a good team. And I really like having former Auburn guy coaching them as well. So I'm going to say that Florida does win and goes on to take on Alabama.
That game is scheduled to start around 9:30 p.m. on Thursday night, and that is why we love March.
That is why we love March. Basketball all day long.
All day, all night.
All day, all night. Let's go maybe in reverse order the way the bracket's set up. Let's just start there. Florida, Bama. Do we let our orange and blue take over and call the upset, or do we think the Crimson Tide is just too talented?
I like what you said there about orange and blue because Florida's orange and blue. Also, another game is going to be the late night game. This game, we've had Florida, Bama once in Tuscaloosa where Bama won, another time in Gainesville where Florida destroyed them. What team will it be this kind of go around? My gut says Florida, but I'm going to pick Bama to beat them and move into the semifinals. I think that's going to be a great game. Those two teams know each other. They both, want to win and beat the other one pretty bad based on the regular season so far. So I'm going to pick Bama. I would not be surprised if it's Florida, and I'll be pulling for the Gators.
I will be pulling for the Gators, but I'm going to pick Bama here just for my, looking not biased completely.
Yeah, there you go.
It's just for some credibility there. We'll work again in reverse order. We've got Kentucky, and we both said Texas A&M will be taking them on. They appear to be the Kentucky that we always think they would be, getting it together with all the talent they have. Buzz Williams, though, does it make a difference? For me, I'm going to say no. I think Kentucky, like Florida, is a team that's been surging of late.
Right.
I think Kentucky's going to be able to take down Buzz Williams, even with probably a really good game played in that one. Do you differ in any way?
No, I think you're right. Kentucky is hot, really hot right now, and it looks like they are putting pieces together at the right time. A&M is not St. Peter's, so I'm going with Kentucky in this game.
I think so as well. So St. Peter's, I've always
took you a second, but there we go.
Yes. I'm going to say now for the Auburn South Carolina game, it will probably be the game of the day, the most competitive. Okay. I think so. I think Texas A&M Kentucky will be the second best game. As much as I want Florida to take, they're all going to be good games. How about
they
that?
Are.
I think they are, but I think Auburn and South Carolina is going to go down to the wire. This is a neutral site. South Carolina wants revenge. think it'll get a little bit scary. We'll have 2 days to watch everybody and have gotten a little bit, a lot of rest, but time off sometimes maybe can work against you.
That's right.
Yay or nay? Auburn advances.
I pick Auburn. I think Auburn's going to win. I think they were the better team against South Carolina, whether it was at Neville Arena or not. And I'm going to pick the Tigers to move on to Saturday. I think Auburn really needs this win, not for making the tournament or not. They're in, but I think Auburn. There's been a couple going up there to Nashville and coming right back. I think Auburn needs this win to establish some confidence. Coach Pearl said as much in his post-game press conference last night. You win the first one, and then everything else isn't easier, but you feel like you're in a groove. And so I think Auburn needs this win. I think they'll be motivated, and I think they'll get it done.
And in that final game, I think Auburn's going to win that one. I think it'll be close, but I think they're going to get the win and get that security they need for the NCAA tournament seeding. Tennessee and we both had differed on that one.
Right.
The question is anybody going to beat Tennessee? My answer is no. What about you?
Anybody?
In this round, okay. I'm sorry, quarterfinals.
I'm not trying to jump ahead. I'm just making
Tennessee moving on to the Final Four of the SEC. I say yes.
Yeah, I say yes. This team, there's going to be so much gaudy orange inside that Bridgestone Arena that it'll be crazy. They dropped one yesterday. They'd already won the regular season, but I think Tennessee takes down LSU, Mississippi State, whoever is in that game.
Well, they took one to the one of the best teams playing right now, at least how they're currently playing. So it's not that much of a black eye on their record or anything like that. All right, looking at this schedule here, you've got the Final Four. We'll do this as fast as we can for the sake of our segment. We have Tennessee versus Auburn, the rematch. Auburn, Tennessee. What a game that was. Arguably the best in the SEC this year. Round 2. What do you think, Austin?
Yeah, Kyle, I'm letting my orange and blue get the best of me. I'm going to say Auburn gets their revenge. I think that they've got a better idea. This team's one of the best defensive teams in the country. This team will scout well for Dalton Connect, and I think they won't let him get almost 40 again. But man, it'll be a great game if it ends up happening. But I think Auburn's going to edge it out. I'm going to pick the Tigers to make it to Sunday.
I'm very worried about this game, but I will also pick Auburn to win this game because a lot of the reasons that you said, but I also try to look at things, how the game really plays out in the context around the game, where they were. Auburn probably could have beaten Tennessee at their place had it not been for a 40-point performance by Dalton Connect. And I know that's just one thing in this conversation, but to me, I think at a neutral site defensively, like you said, Auburn's going to get the win to push them into the finals matchup. Here it is, Alabama, Kentucky. What do you want to see, and what do you think it'll be?
Yeah, I will not pull for Alabama. It's not going to happen. But I just really can't. This is another one where my gut and my heart say different things. But I cannot get past the Kentucky beatdown in Rupp Arena. It was, the shooting was, yes, a little out of character, maybe an outlier for Kentucky. 117 points doesn't happen regularly, but they destroyed them. And Alabama's defense has not gotten better. So I'm going to say Kentucky. I think if we end up with this Final Four, though, Kyle, Saturday will be an incredible day of basketball in the SEC alone. But I'm going to pick Kentucky and Auburn in the championship.
I will agree with you as well. I think Alabama will put up a fight, but just Kentucky, I think, is surging too much right now. They're a lot of talk about peaking at the right time. They're peaking with great talent at the right time. So Kentucky versus Auburn, we both agree. We differed on how we got there. I'll give mine first.
Okay.
I don't think Auburn's going to win the championship. I think they will come close. I think Kentucky is just found, unfortunately, as frustrating as it is, has found their rhythm at the right time. And Auburn will give them everything that they can handle. But it's Kentucky. They're a blue blood for a reason. We are as well. But I think Kentucky is going to win. It seems like you agree.
For all the reasons you just mentioned about why Kentucky is peaking at the right moment and all that, I think so too. They're very good. They're very talented. They handled Auburn pretty well inside Neville Arena. I think Kentucky, it will be a good game, but I think Kentucky will probably edge out Auburn. And look, I'm not saying I don't want to win. I'm not saying I don't want Auburn to bring home a banner and another championship. But if Auburn makes it to Sunday, they have established themselves well for the SEC or for the national tournament. They have probably moved up a seed line. I'm good with that. I'm that is gravy to have an SEC championship for me, but that would be a successful week in Nashville.
It would be, and regardless, we are all going to win as SEC basketball fans.
Absolutely.
This is the best conference this year in basketball, and it will show up in Nashville. You can take that to the bank. I'm so excited. In this topic, I'll be honest with you, it's a little bit of a stretch for us because it's not so Auburn specific, but I think it's still a conversation that people have a lot of interest around and how we can continue to improve upon an ever-changing landscape for college football. Obviously, Auburn's in the SEC. Obviously, the SEC is about to change with Oklahoma and Texas. We know that's probably not the only change that's going to be coming down the pipe in the not too distant future with scheduling, maybe more additions, expansions, who knows. But for the time being, I think with some of the frustrations, many brilliant minds out there are offering their opinions about what this could be done better currently. A lot of you will know Josh Pate of the Late Kick with Josh Pate show. And he does a great job over there. We're going to steal his graphic from him, but so many others are, so I don't think he minds. We're giving him the credit it's due.
That's right.
But if you'll see it right here, he has offered up what he considers, and this is for the live viewers. If you're listening, you'll have to play along or imagine it or go look it up yourself. The perfect college football conferences. We don't have the time to go through every single aspect of it, but what I want to focus on is how it implicates Auburn and what this looks like potentially if this is what we were to do with the SEC. For that purpose, he has split a lot of the teams up that are currently in the SEC together. And he has done that amongst the other conferences, removed some completely, several completely, put some as independents. But right now, this is what he thinks the perfect college football conference would be for the SEC. Ole Miss, Georgia, Florida, Mississippi State, South Carolina, Alabama, Tennessee, Auburn, Kentucky, LSU. Now, who's missing from that? Vanderbilt. He has them as an independent. It's an interesting take. Maybe not to disagree. We'll see. You are missing Arkansas, what will be Texas and Oklahoma, and Texas A&M. I think I got everybody. Am I missing anybody, Austin?
Missouri. They're forgettable people, let's be honest.
Poor Missouri. You're always the last one.
They don't belong here.
I don't even feel bad, to be honest with you.
No.
So, with that in mind, what you saw there, Austin, what everybody saw who was watching, maybe y'all have seen it on social media if you're listening in that format. Thoughts? What you think?
Yeah, as a big picture kind of thing, and I'm not going to talk about the other conferences that much, but for those that'll look at it, I think we'll realize what I'm saying. A lot of this is like how it was like 20 years ago, right?
Yeah,
I think a lot of this is, let's be honest. One of the totally lost my train of thought there. The thing that we all like to do new things. We all like to try and get away from something and make the newest idea. And then we all kind of rein it back in and be like, hey, what we had wasn't so bad. That's kind of what this is. And I'm just going to list off the names of the conferences he has. We got SEC, Big 10, Big East, Southwest, Big 8, Pac-10, ACC, and Independents. You go back to the late 90s, you tell somebody that, and you're like, isn't that what we already have? And it's true. So, in that sense, I'm kind of like, I'm okay with that. And we didn't have to mess it up to begin with. Now, however, the SEC from then to now with this current one would be a little bit different. Like we wouldn't have Arkansas, who came during the 90s.
Yep.
And then obviously A&M and Missouri came in 2012, and then Texas and Oklahoma are coming next year. You would keep South Carolina from that 1990s edition, and everybody would have about 10 conference opponents.
Yeah.
But I don't disagree with him. I just want to kind of be like, well, we had this and it was pretty perfect then, but we all got and there's a part of this where we're all leaving out, everybody put more teams, you get more TV money, things we don't like to talk about with college football.
Stop being logical.
But I don't think it's bad. The Vanderbilt to independent is the biggest thing here, because it's the most not outlandish but big move. And I kind of want to fight it, but I'm
I
also
do.
kind of like, well, I don't know where else to put them.
Here,
So
I'm exactly with you on this. I want to fight for Vanderbilt here, but they haven't given me much ammo to fight with.
no.
So,
And it's important to say this is college football conferences. He has
yes,
perfect college football conferences.
yes.
So their excuse for how good they are in baseball does not qualify here.
And, Vanderbilt's got a great history in the SEC. You would know it if you
Right.
don't go back and look in the Eon days, back when this was actually a thing. This conference that he suggested was basically a thing. So it's almost like a slap in the face that the conference that they dominated that was the SEC. They're not even part of anymore based on what they currently are doing. So I wish I could fight for you, Vanderbilt. I don't like seeing you there by yourself. It's kind of like that little brother that you annoys you. You don't want to protect him, but you don't really, he annoys you so much. So sorry, Vanderbilt. I think I just don't have any ammo to fight with. I think the one that is not troublesome, but it is a little bit disappointing is that Arkansas wouldn't be there. And yes, they were an expansion team, or the first expansion ever, long time ago. But they would go back to the Southwest, which frankly they were part of originally.
Right.
And have a lot of history over there. I mean, they've got some good rivalries with Texas and, and teams from that region that they are now going to have renewed with the real conference realignment that's coming up this season. I don't know. Do you have qualms about Arkansas not being part of the SEC?
Not
Football?
really. They have been my whole life part of the SEC, and so it's. But I don't know. It's not one of those teams. Like I see LSU on there, I'm like, I'd have a big issue if they weren't on there. I'd have a big issue if Tennessee weren't on there. But to your point, I think I'd probably switch them for South Carolina.
Can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
I'd get rid of LSU.
Would you really? In the SEC?
I'd get rid of LSU. To me,
what?
To me, LSU is its own beast. And like,
where would you put them?
Nowhere.
Independent?
I'd put them as the Cajun conference by themselves with, and get all the other Louisiana schools just to come be with them over there. Look, when we had LSU come off the schedule this year for the 2024 year, and first time ever, and at least in forever, that the Tiger Bowl won't happen. I wasn't that upset about it. Not because I'm afraid of them, but because of what we gained. And to me, that old traditional SEC, while yes, LSU is kind of a part of it, you're looking at the teams minus Vanderbilt and take South Carolina out of it that were always a part of that. If we're going straight nostalgia, what was good about the old days, like that's what it looks like to me, minus LSU, because it's the Mississippi schools, the Alabama schools, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee. Yeah, okay, I could throw Kentucky in there too if you want to, because we need a splash of color. But
okay, in that vein, then I'll propose, because I've got a little nostalgia thing I would do too. But in that vein, if you could switch somebody out of this perfect CFB conference SEC for someone else, who would you do, and who would you switch? So I've got one, but I want to hear yours.
You're saying switch them from any conference to another one?
Yeah, you can take one out of this SEC he has and switch it with someone else.
I would switch LSU probably for Arkansas. I'd probably switch LSU for Arkansas.
Interesting.
And I know that's stupid in some ways, and people are going to disagree with me, but I'd switch LSU for Arkansas.
LSU in the Southwest, that my brain does not compute.
Folks, we have Missouri in the SEC. Everything.
This is the perfect CFB conferences, though, Kyle. This is our utopia. This is
if it was utopia, why did we leave
where the ACC is both coasts?
It is. Hey, listen, if they had done it right, it's not.
I know.
Coastal conferences.
All coastal conferences.
I would have loved that, to be honest.
Oh, that'd be great.
You would have had me as a big fan. I would have made it my second favorite conference after that.
So mine is I'm taking somebody from the ACC. Okay. And I'm switching them out with South Carolina.
Oh, I know. And that's going to be already.
Who?
Florida State.
No, I don't want Florida State anywhere near us. No. I want a former SEC conference member back in the SEC. And I think it helps in a multitude of ways with recruiting, helps Auburn in multitude of ways with recruiting. It reestablishes a rivalry with Auburn. I'm taking South Carolina, who's on the Atlantic coast.
Okay.
And I'm putting them in the ACC, and I'm bringing Georgia Tech back to the SEC.
Okay.
We finally get to put the leg humpers back with an in-state rival.
You just said that.
With an in-state rival, so they can have to deal with what the rest of us have to deal with.
To quote our favorite show, you realize this mic is hot, right?
I know exactly what I said, Kyle. And I'm taking South Carolina out, who I already really don't care about. And I'm bringing Georgia Tech. Right? And we get Rec Tech parades back. We get the rivalry. We get to go to Atlanta and catch an Auburn game. And they get to come here. I think that works out well. I want Georgia Tech back as a regular member or a regular rotational opponent for Auburn. That is a tradition that we lost that people do not talk about enough. And I think they'd fit great in the SEC.
They basically would be replacing Vanderbilt as the smart school that kind of can. Well, they'd play football more regularly than at least competitively.
They'd contribute a little bit more.
They would contribute. Well, okay.
That'd be great.
It's food for thought. Again, as a reminder, I'll pull up on screen again. The perfect college football conference: Ole Miss, Georgia, Florida, Mississippi State, South Carolina, Alabama, Tennessee, Auburn, Kentucky, LSU. Vanderbilt is independent. And back to the Southwest goes Arkansas, Texas, Texas A&M, and Oklahoma. And Missouri is just in misery still. Is it the Big Eight that they're? Yes, the Big Eight. I'll be honest with you, though, that Big Eight, just as a quick thought, I don't mind it.
That'd be fun.
I don't mind that at all. That's a pretty good look right there.
But we had that, Kyle.
I liked your Auburn spin on it because that's the point of this, right? It's a bigger, broader topic than just Auburn, but we want to put our Auburn spin on it. So if we're thinking, how could we help improve upon this? Maybe you do switch out a South Carolina for a Georgia Tech to benefit Auburn in rivalries and stuff like that. Actually,
how cool would it be if we had Auburn and Georgia Tech again? And back when they used to grease the tracks because Georgia Tech would come in from Atlanta. What if the teams, if we're going to Georgia Tech, they're coming here? What if you had to ride the train? You had to go ride the train to play Auburn or ride the train to play Georgia Tech like the old days. That'd be awesome.
Your ticket is not good unless you got it punched at the ticket station or the train station.
I'm talking about the teams.
Oh, the teams. Okay,
I'm talking about the teams.
Okay, that'd be kind of cool.
We'd have a tiger walk to the train tracks. I think it'd be awesome.
And that train station is, if I'm not mistaken, goes by or underneath almost the current stadium in Atlanta. Now,
that's true.
Not Bobby Dodd Stadium, but if we played it as a neutral site game every single year at the Dome.
Well, it wouldn't be really a neutral site, but that's another conversation.
It's a neutral site. They ain't going to put fans there from us. Come on.
Fair enough.
If it's not a neutral site game, it's ours for the taking.
Fair enough.
Let's just be honest. So there you go. The perfect college football conference is according to Josh Pate. Let us know y'all's thoughts about that. I'm sure a lot of you have been having this conversation online this week, but just a little bit of a fun football topic to get you through as we continue to march towards college football season. That's going to do it for episode 69 of the Auburn Experience podcast. We appreciate you joining in. If you want to catch up with me online, do so on X. You can find me at Kyle Loomis 24. Where can they find you?
Yeah, at Austin G. Scott. Please direct all complaints or issues with my nicknames to me directly, not Kyle.
However you want to do that. But we'd love to hear some of y'all's thoughts about some of our topics today. Please do so. And we hope to catch up with you on the next episode of the Auburn Experience podcast. Until then, War Eagle.
War Eagle.